Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we're truly alone? What if I told you that scattered across our planet are mysteries so profound, so impossible to explain with our current understanding of science, that they challenge everything we think we know about human history? Ancient structures that defy physics, artifacts that shouldn't exist, and knowledge that seems to have come from nowhere. Tonight, we're diving deep into the most compelling evidence that something extraordinary happened in our distant past. Welcome to a journey that will make you question everything you've been taught about ancient civilizations. I'm about to show you archaeological discoveries that mainstream science refuses to acknowledge, technological achievements that our ancestors supposedly couldn't have possessed, and mathematical precision that shouldn't have been possible thousands of years ago. By the end of this investigation, you'll understand why some of the world's brightest minds are beginning to whisper about possibilities that were once dismissed as pure fantasy. But here's what makes this different from every other exploration you've seen. I've spent months analysing the latest research, consulting with archaeologists who dare to ask uncomfortable questions, and examining evidence that's been hidden in plain sight. What I discovered will challenge your worldview and force you to confront a truth that's been staring humanity in the face for millennia. The evidence I'm about to present isn't speculation or wishful thinking. These are documented archaeological facts that create a pattern so undeniable, so consistent across cultures and continents, that ignoring it becomes more absurd than accepting it. We're talking about precision engineering that rivals modern technology, astronomical knowledge that predates our understanding by thousands of years, and artistic depictions that seem to show beings and objects that don't belong in ancient times. Picture this. You're standing before a massive stone structure, each block weighing several tons, fitted together with such precision that you can't slide a knife blade between them. No mortar, no modern machinery, no advanced tools according to conventional archaeology. Yet there it stands, defying every explanation textbooks offer. This isn't science fiction. This is reality, repeated across dozens of sites worldwide, from the mountains of Peru to the deserts of Egypt, from the jungles of Guatemala to the remote islands of the Pacific. What's even more staggering is that these impossible achievements didn't happen in isolation. They occurred simultaneously across the globe, among civilizations that supposedly had no contact with each other. The same advanced techniques, the same impossible precision, the same astronomical alignments appearing in cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of miles. Coincidence? The mathematics of probability would suggest otherwise, but the physical evidence is only the beginning. Ancient texts from cultures around the world tell remarkably similar stories about beings who came from the sky, who possessed advanced knowledge, who taught humans agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. These aren't vague myths or symbolic tales. They're detailed accounts with specific names, dates, and technical descriptions that read more like historical records than religious allegories. The Sumerian tablets speak of the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens with advanced technology. The Hindu Vedas describe flying vehicles called vimanas, with specifications so detailed they include propulsion systems and navigation methods. Egyptian hieroglyphs show objects that look remarkably like aircraft and spacecraft. Native American traditions, across dozens of tribes, tell of star people who came from specific constellations, bringing gifts of knowledge that transformed human civilization. Here's where it gets really interesting. Modern linguistic analysis has revealed that these ancient accounts use technical terminology that shouldn't have existed in pre-scientific societies. Words describing nuclear reactions, genetic manipulation, aircraft propulsion, and astronomical phenomena that weren't officially discovered until the 20th century. Either these ancient peoples possessed scientific knowledge that mysteriously vanished from the historical record, Or they were describing technologies they witnessed but didn't fully understand. The mathematical evidence is equally compelling. Ancient structures demonstrate knowledge of pi, the golden ratio, and complex geometric principles that weren't supposed to be discovered until thousands of years later. The Great Pyramid of Giza encodes the speed of light in its dimensions. Mayan calendars calculated astronomical cycles with precision that rivals modern computers. Stonehenge aligns with celestial events with accuracy that requires advanced understanding of Earth's rotation and orbital mechanics. But perhaps the most unsettling evidence comes from what scientists call out-of-place artifacts, or OOPArts. These are technological objects found in geological layers where they simply cannot exist according to conventional timelines. Metal spheres with perfect grooves discovered in rock formations millions of years old. Electronic components embedded in coal that formed long before humans supposedly existed. Metallic implants found in the bodies of ancient peoples, composed of alloys that weren't developed until the space age. The scientific establishment has worked tirelessly to explain away these anomalies, often resorting to increasingly complex theories that require more assumptions than the simple possibility that our understanding of history is incomplete. When artifacts don't fit the timeline, they're dismissed as hoaxes or contamination. When ancient achievements seem impossible, they're attributed to lost techniques that conveniently left no trace. When multiple cultures describe the same phenomena, it's called collective unconscious or cultural diffusion, despite the lack of contact between these civilizations. This resistance isn't just academic stubbornness. Accepting these anomalies would require rewriting textbooks, reconsidering fundamental assumptions about human development, and acknowledging that our ancestors might have had access to knowledge and technology that we're only beginning to rediscover. It would mean admitting that the linear progression of human civilization that we've constructed might be a comfortable fiction. The implications extend far beyond archaeology and history. If advanced beings visited Earth in the distant past, if they influenced human development, if they left behind evidence that we're only now beginning to recognize, then every assumption about our place in the universe needs to be reconsidered. We might not be the first intelligence to achieve technological advancement. We might not be alone. We might not even be the dominant species on our own planet's timeline. What makes this investigation so crucial right now is that we're living through a technological revolution that's finally giving us the tools to properly analyze ancient mysteries. Ground-penetrating radar is revealing hidden chambers in pyramids. Satellite imagery is uncovering massive structures buried beneath jungles and deserts. DNA analysis is finding genetic anomalies in ancient human remains that don't fit evolutionary models. Advanced dating techniques are pushing back the timeline of human civilization by thousands of years. Every new discovery seems to support the possibility that our ancestors had help, guidance, or direct intervention from beings with capabilities that seemed magical to primitive humans but might be perfectly explainable as advanced technology. The question isn't whether the evidence exists. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. The question is whether we're brave enough to follow that evidence wherever it leads, even if it challenges everything we think we know about ourselves and our history. The patterns are becoming impossible to ignore. Ancient megalithic sites around the world share construction techniques that modern engineers struggle to replicate. Cave paintings from different continents show remarkably similar figures that don't resemble any known earthly beings. Genetic studies reveal sudden leaps in human evolution that don't match gradual Darwinian development. Ancient maps show continents with accurate coastlines that were supposedly unknown to ancient navigators. Each piece of evidence might be dismissible on its own, but together they form a mosaic that points toward a single, extraordinary conclusion. Something happened in humanity's distant past that doesn't fit our current understanding of history, technology, or evolution. Whether you call them ancient aliens, advanced prehistoric civilizations, or something else entirely, the evidence suggests that our ancestors encountered intelligence and technology far beyond what conventional history acknowledges. The time has come to examine this evidence with open minds and scientific rigor, free from the constraints of academic orthodoxy and the fear of challenging established narratives. What we discover might be the most important revelation in human history, a truth that's been hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to develop the courage and capability to recognize it. Are you ready to see the evidence that could change everything we thought we knew about our past, our present, and our future? Because once you see what I'm about to show you, there's no going back to comfortable assumptions about human history. The truth is stranger, more wonderful, and more terrifying than we ever imagined. The journey begins with structures that shouldn't exist, continues through artifacts that defy explanation, and leads to a conclusion that will force you to reconsider humanity's place in the cosmic story. This isn't just about ancient history. This is about understanding who we really are and where we're really going. Let's start with the impossible stones that started it all. Deep in the Andes Mountains of Peru, at an altitude where most people struggle to breathe, sits a collection of stones that challenges everything we understand about ancient engineering. Sacsayhuaman, just outside the ancient city of Cusco, contains blocks of stone so massive and precisely fitted that they seem to mock our modern construction capabilities. We're not talking about small building stones here. These are megaliths weighing up to 200 tons each, cut and shaped with precision that would challenge today's most advanced machinery. But here's what makes your blood run cold when you really think about it. These stones weren't just heavy and precisely cut. They were fitted together using a technique that creates joints so perfect, so impossibly tight, that after hundreds of years of earthquakes, rain, and time itself, you still cannot insert even the thinnest blade between them. No mortar was used, no adhesive, just stone pressed against stone with a precision that modern engineers struggle to explain, let alone replicate. The conventional explanation goes something like this. The Inca were master stonemasons who used bronze tools, wooden rollers, and human labor to achieve these impossible feats. They supposedly heated the stones to make them malleable, or used some lost technique involving plant acids to soften the rock. But here's the problem with these explanations. They don't work. Modern attempts to replicate these techniques have failed spectacularly. Bronze tools can't cut the type of hard andesite and granite used in these structures. Plant acids don't soften stone in ways that would allow this kind of precision shaping. And the logistics of moving 200-ton blocks up mountain slopes using primitive technology borders on the absurd. Yet there they stand, these impossible monuments, taunting us with their very existence. The Spanish conquistadors, who first encountered these structures, were so overwhelmed by their impossibility that they attributed them to demons or giants. They couldn't believe that human beings, even advanced ones, could have created something so far beyond their own capabilities. And remember, these were people who had witnessed the construction of Europe's greatest cathedrals and castles. But Sacsayhuaman is just the beginning. Travel north to Ollantaytambo, another Peruvian site that defies explanation. Here you'll find a wall made of 6 massive pink granite monoliths, each weighing approximately 50 tons, fitted together with the same impossible precision. The granite for these blocks came from a quarry 6 miles away, across a river and up a mountain slope. The conventional explanation suggests the Inca somehow transported these massive stones using only human power, wooden rollers, and rope. But engineers who have studied the site point out that the gradients involved would make such transportation impossible using primitive methods. What's even more disturbing is the unfinished state of Ollantaytambo. The site appears to have been abandoned suddenly, with massive stones left in various stages of completion, scattered around the quarry and along the presumed transport route. It's as if whoever was building this incredible structure simply vanished one day, leaving behind evidence of construction techniques that shouldn't have existed. The precision cutting at these sites reveals another impossibility. The stones show evidence of being cut with tools that could slice through granite like butter, creating surfaces so smooth and flat that they rival modern machine work. Some blocks show what appear to be scooped-out sections, as if the stone had been soft when shaped, then hardened into its final form. Others display drill holes that are perfectly circular and incredibly deep, suggesting drilling technology that shouldn't have existed for thousands of years. Even more baffling are the so-called knobs found on many of these megalithic blocks. These are precisely shaped protrusions that seem to serve no structural purpose, but appear on similar blocks at sites around the world. Some researchers suggest they might have been used in the transportation or positioning of the stones, but no one has been able to demonstrate how. Others propose they might be evidence of some unknown technology, perhaps related to acoustic or electromagnetic manipulation of matter. The acoustic properties of these ancient sites add another layer of mystery. Researchers have discovered that many megalithic structures around the world were designed with sophisticated acoustic properties. At Sacsayhuaman, certain stones ring like bells when struck, producing clear, resonant tones that can be heard across great distances. Some researchers have suggested that these acoustic properties weren't accidental, but were integral to the function of these structures, perhaps serving purposes we don't yet understand. But Peru isn't the only place where we find these impossible constructions. Travel to Lebanon, to the ancient site of Baalbek, and you'll encounter the largest cut stones ever used in construction anywhere on Earth. The 3 stones of the trilithon each weigh approximately 800 tons. To put that in perspective, that's heavier than 400 modern automobiles. These stones were not only quarried and shaped with incredible precision, but were somehow lifted and positioned at a height of 20 feet above ground level. Modern construction equipment would struggle with such a task. The largest mobile cranes in the world today can lift about 1,000 tons, but only under perfect conditions and with extensive preparation. Yet somehow, ancient builders not only moved these 800-ton blocks, but positioned them with millimeter precision as part of a foundation that has stood for thousands of years. The engineering challenges involved in this feat are so extreme that many modern engineers have simply declared it impossible using ancient technology. At the quarry near Baalbek sits an even larger stone known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighing an estimated 1,000 tons. This massive block was cut and shaped, but never moved from the quarry, leading to speculation about why such an enormous project was abandoned. Recent excavations have revealed an even larger stone beneath it, weighing an estimated 1,750 tons, making it the largest cut stone block ever discovered. The precision of the cutting and fitting at Baalbek rivals anything found in Peru. The joints between stones are so tight that they seem welded together. The surfaces are so flat and smooth that they appear to have been machine finished. Yet, according to conventional archaeology, these structures were built by Romans using primitive tools and human labor. The disconnect between the claimed methods and the observable results becomes more glaring with each technical analysis. Egypt presents us with perhaps the most famous impossible construction project of all, the Great Pyramid of Giza. This structure contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing between 2.5 and 15 tons. The precision of its construction is so extreme that the entire structure varies from true level by only 2.1 centimeters. Its orientation to true north is accurate to within 3/60th of a degree. The ratio of its perimeter to its height equals pi to several decimal places. But beyond these well-known facts lies evidence that's even more disturbing. The blocks used in the Great Pyramid show saw marks that suggest they were cut with saws, having blades several feet in length, with teeth made from diamonds or similarly hard materials. Drill holes in the granite show spiral grooves indicating drilling rates that would require tremendous pressure and diamond-tipped drill bits. Core samples from these drill holes show that the drilling process somehow cut through granite and softer limestone at the same rate, something that should be impossible with any known ancient technology. The internal chambers of the Great Pyramid reveal construction techniques that defy explanation. The King's Chamber is built from enormous granite blocks that were somehow maneuvered through passages too narrow to accommodate them. The chamber itself is a marvel of acoustic engineering, designed to resonate at specific frequencies. The so-called sarcophagus in the King's Chamber is cut from a single block of granite with precision that rivals modern machine work, yet it's too large to have been brought through the pyramid's passages, suggesting it was installed during construction. Recent discoveries using cosmic ray imaging have revealed additional voids within the Great Pyramid, suggesting that our understanding of its internal structure is far from complete. These hidden chambers raise new questions about the pyramid's purpose and construction methods. Why would ancient builders create sealed chambers with no apparent access? What might these spaces contain? The transportation and lifting of the pyramid's massive blocks presents logistical challenges that haven't been satisfactorily answered. The granite blocks used in the King's Chamber came from quarries 500 miles away. The logistics of moving such massive stones across such distances using primitive transportation methods would have required resources and organization on a scale that seems impossible for the time period. But perhaps most disturbing is the precision with which the entire Giza complex was planned and executed. The three main pyramids align with the stars of Orion's belt, with remarkable accuracy. The complex encodes mathematical relationships that weren't supposedly discovered until thousands of years later. The positioning of the structures relative to each other follows geometric principles that suggest a level of planning and mathematical knowledge that doesn't fit our understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. Similar precision and impossible construction techniques appear at megalithic sites around the world. In Japan, the underwater ruins at Yonaguni show massive stone blocks cut and fitted with precision that rivals anything found on land. These structures have been underwater for at least 10,000 years, pushing back the timeline of advanced construction techniques far beyond what conventional archaeology accepts. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe presents us with sophisticated stone construction that dates to nearly 12,000 years ago, thousands of years before agriculture was supposedly developed. The site consists of massive stone pillars arranged in circles, decorated with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols. The precision of the stone cutting and the sophistication of the overall design challenge our understanding of what hunter-gatherer societies were capable of achieving. The pattern repeats across continents and cultures. Easter Island's Moai statues, each weighing up to 80 tons, were somehow transported across the island and positioned with precision. The statues themselves show evidence of sophisticated carving techniques and planning. Recent discoveries have revealed that the heads visible above ground are actually full-body statues, buried by centuries of soil accumulation, and these buried portions show the same level of sophisticated carving as the visible heads. In Bolivia, the ruins of Pumapunku present perhaps the most challenging evidence of all. The stone blocks at this site are cut with precision that exceeds modern capabilities. The surfaces are so flat and the angles so precise that they appear to have been machine finished. The blocks are designed with complex interlocking systems that allow them to fit together without mortar, yet with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. What makes Pumapunku particularly disturbing is the hardness of the stone used. These blocks are cut from andesite and granite, materials so hard that they can only be cut with diamond-tipped tools. Yet the precision of the cutting suggests not just diamond tools, but sophisticated machinery capable of maintaining exact tolerances across large surfaces. Some blocks show evidence of having been cut with tools that removed material in perfectly straight lines, creating surfaces that are flat to within thousandths of an inch. The evidence from these sites around the world creates a pattern that's impossible to ignore. We're not dealing with isolated anomalies or lucky accidents. We're looking at a consistent level of precision and sophistication that appears across cultures and continents, achieved using techniques that our current understanding of ancient technology cannot explain. The mathematical precision, the acoustic properties, The astronomical alignments and the sheer impossibility of the logistics involved all point toward capabilities that shouldn't have existed in the ancient world. Yet there they stand. These monuments to impossible achievement, challenging every assumption we've made about our ancestors and their capabilities. The question isn't whether these structures exist. They're photographed, measured, and studied by researchers around the world. The question is how they came to exist and why the techniques used to create them seem to have vanished so completely from the historical record. The conventional explanations grow more strained with each new analysis, each measurement that reveals another impossible precision, each logistics calculation that shows the claimed methods couldn't have worked. We're left with structures that exist but shouldn't, achievements that are documented but inexplicable, and a growing realization that something is fundamentally wrong with our understanding of ancient human capabilities. But the impossible stones are just the beginning. The artifacts we're about to examine will force you to confront an even more disturbing possibility: that our ancestors had access to technology that we're only beginning to understand. The artifacts scattered across museums and private collections around the world tell a story that mainstream archaeology refuses to acknowledge. These aren't crude pottery shards or primitive tools that fit neatly into our timeline of human development. These are technological objects that appear to have been manufactured using techniques and materials that shouldn't have existed for thousands, sometimes millions of years. In Romania, deep within a coal mine, workers in 1974 discovered something that shattered their understanding of geological time. Embedded in coal that formed 60 million years ago, they found a wedge-shaped aluminum object with precise edges and deliberate craftsmanship. Aluminum doesn't occur naturally in pure form on Earth. It requires sophisticated extraction processes involving electricity and high temperatures, techniques that weren't developed until the 19th century. Yet here was an aluminum artifact buried in rock formations that predate human existence by tens of millions of years. The scientific establishment's response was predictable. The object was dismissed as contamination, a modern piece of debris that somehow found its way into ancient rock. But the coal surrounding the artifact showed no signs of disturbance. The aluminum object was completely integrated into the geological matrix, embedded so thoroughly that it could only have been there when the coal formed. Independent analysis confirmed that the aluminum was of a purity and composition that doesn't match any known natural occurrence. This wasn't an isolated incident. In 1851, workers breaking apart a chunk of auriferous quartz near Treasure City, Nevada, found a screw-like object embedded in the rock. The quartz formation was dated to the Jurassic period, roughly 150 million years old. The object was made of iron and showed clear evidence of having been manufactured, with threads and a head that indicated deliberate design. Like the Romanian aluminum wedge, this artifact was completely integrated into the rock matrix, ruling out modern contamination. The Dorchester pot, discovered in 1851 in Massachusetts, presents another impossible artifact. This metallic vessel was blasted out of solid rock 15 feet below the surface during quarrying operations. The rock formation was dated to 600 million years old, long before complex life was supposed to exist on Earth. The pot itself was made of an unknown metal alloy and decorated with intricate floral designs that demonstrated sophisticated artistic capability. The craftsmanship was so advanced that it included silver inlay work, indicating not just metalworking knowledge, but refined artistic sensibilities. But perhaps the most disturbing category of impossible artifacts comes from the realm of microscopic technology. In Russia, gold miners in the Ural Mountains have discovered thousands of tiny objects that appear to be manufactured components. These spiral-shaped artifacts, some as small as 1/10,000th of an inch, are made from tungsten and molybdenum, metals that require extremely high temperatures to work with. Under electron microscope analysis, these objects show precise geometric construction that resembles modern nanotechnology components. The geological layers where these micro-artifacts were found date to between 20,000 and 318,000 years old. The precision of their construction suggests manufacturing capabilities that exceed our current technology. Some of the spirals maintain perfect geometric ratios throughout their microscopic dimensions, indicating quality control and precision that would be challenging even with modern equipment. Yet, according to conventional timelines, these objects predate human technological development by hundreds of thousands of years. The London hammer presents another chronological impossibility. Discovered in 1936 in Texas, this tool was found embedded in rock, dated to 140 million years old. The hammer's wooden handle had begun to petrify, and the metal head showed unusual properties when analyzed. The iron was of unusual purity, containing traces of chlorine, an element that doesn't occur in naturally formed iron. The manufacturing process appeared to have involved techniques that weren't developed until the modern era. Yet the geological evidence indicated the hammer had been in place for millions of years. X-ray analysis of the hammer revealed that the metal head was manufactured using methods that create internal structures not found in hand-forged iron. The crystalline structure of the metal indicated it had been formed under controlled conditions, using processes that weren't developed until the industrial age. Yet there it was, embedded in rock that formed when dinosaurs ruled the earth. In France, researchers have documented the discovery of metallic tubes found in 65-million-year-old chalk formations. These tubes appear to have been manufactured using precise drilling techniques and show evidence of having been deliberately placed rather than naturally formed. The metal composition doesn't match any known natural alloys, and the precision of their construction suggests sophisticated manufacturing capabilities. The pattern becomes even more disturbing when we examine artifacts found in human archaeological contexts that display impossible technological sophistication. The Baghdad battery, discovered in Iraq and dating to approximately 250 BCE, consists of a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. When filled with an acidic solution, this device produces electrical current. The construction is so similar to modern galvanic cells that it's virtually identical in principle. Mainstream archaeology dismisses the Baghdad battery as a storage vessel for scrolls, despite the clear evidence of its electrical properties. But why would ancient peoples construct a device that accidentally replicates modern battery technology with such precision? The copper cylinder shows evidence of having been corroded by acid, indicating that it was indeed used as intended. Chemical analysis of residue found in similar jars confirms the presence of acidic solutions that would have activated the electrical generation. Multiple examples of these ancient batteries have been found throughout the region, suggesting they weren't unique curiosities, but part of a broader technological understanding. Some show evidence of having been connected in series to increase voltage output, indicating sophisticated knowledge of electrical principles. The precision of their construction and the consistency of their design across multiple sites points toward an established technology rather than accidental discovery. In Egypt, the Dendera light reliefs show what appear to be electrical devices being operated by ancient priests. The hieroglyphic inscriptions accompanying these images use terminology that matches modern electrical engineering concepts. The devices depicted include elements that correspond to power sources, conducting cables, and illumination devices. The precision of the technical details in these ancient depictions suggests direct knowledge rather than symbolic representation. Modern attempts to construct working replicas based on the Dendera reliefs have successfully produced functioning electrical lighting systems. The ancient specifications, when followed precisely, result in devices that generate sufficient electrical current to power illumination. This raises the disturbing question of how ancient Egyptian artists could have depicted functional electrical technology with such accuracy if they had never seen such devices in operation. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a Roman shipwreck and dating to approximately 100 BCE, represents perhaps the most complex ancient artifact ever found. This bronze device contains dozens of precisely machined gears, arranged in a configuration that allows it to calculate astronomical positions with remarkable accuracy. The sophistication of its construction exceeds anything else found from the ancient world by centuries. Computer analysis of the Antikythera mechanism has revealed that it could predict solar eclipses, lunar phases, and the positions of known planets with precision that rivals modern astronomical software. The gear ratios used in its construction demonstrate mathematical knowledge that wasn't supposed to be rediscovered until the Renaissance. The precision of the machining indicates access to tools and techniques that don't fit our understanding of ancient Greek capabilities. What makes the Antikythera mechanism particularly disturbing is that it appears to be part of a technological tradition rather than a unique creation. References in ancient texts suggest that similar devices existed and were used for astronomical calculations throughout the classical world. Cicero mentions a device created by Archimedes that could demonstrate the motions of celestial bodies. Other Roman writers refer to mechanical devices that could predict astronomical events, yet no other examples of this technology have survived, suggesting that an entire tradition of sophisticated mechanical engineering was lost. The knowledge required to construct such devices would have included precision metalworking, advanced mathematics, and detailed astronomical observation. The sudden disappearance of this technological capability from the historical record raises questions about what other advanced knowledge might have been lost. The crystal skulls found throughout Central America present another category of impossible artifacts. These objects are carved from single pieces of crystal with a precision that shouldn't have been achievable using ancient tools. The most famous, the Mitchell Hedges skull, shows no tool marks whatsoever despite being carved from one of the hardest materials on Earth. The precision of the carving includes internal structures that could only be achieved using modern grinding and polishing techniques. Analysis of the crystal skulls reveals that they were carved using techniques that require constant pressure and rotation speeds that weren't achievable with ancient technology. The internal structures, including detailed jaw mechanisms and precise optical properties, demonstrate manufacturing capabilities that exceed what primitive tools could achieve. Some skulls show evidence of having been carved using ultrasonic drilling techniques that weren't developed until the 20th century. The optical properties of these crystal skulls are particularly disturbing. They demonstrate sophisticated understanding of light refraction and focus that indicates advanced knowledge of optics. Some skulls can focus light in ways that create internal illumination effects that appear almost supernatural. The precision required to achieve these optical properties suggests not just advanced tools but detailed understanding of the physics involved. Ancient metalworking artifacts present equally impossible evidence. The Iron Pillar of Delhi, dating to approximately 400 CE, is composed of iron so pure that it has remained rust-free for over 1,600 years, despite exposure to Delhi's monsoon climate. Modern analysis reveals that the iron contains phosphorus in concentrations that create a protective coating. But the metallurgical knowledge required to achieve this composition shouldn't have existed in ancient India. The Damascus steel blades produced in medieval Syria demonstrated metallurgical properties that modern science struggled to understand until recently. These blades could cut through European swords and armor while maintaining their edge through extended combat. The steel showed a distinctive watered pattern that indicated internal structures not achievable through conventional forging techniques. Modern analysis reveals that Damascus steel contained carbon nanotubes, structures that weren't officially discovered until the 1990s. The precision required to create steel with such properties indicates metallurgical knowledge that far exceeded what was officially known at the time. The consistent quality of Damascus steel across centuries of production suggests an established technological tradition rather than accidental discovery. Yet the knowledge of how to produce this superior steel was mysteriously lost, and modern attempts to replicate it have only recently succeeded using advanced materials science. In South America, pre-Columbian goldwork demonstrates impossible precision and sophistication. The Muisca raft discovered in Colombia, shows details that can only be appreciated under magnification. The craftsmanship includes elements smaller than the human eye can perceive, carved with precision that requires tools and techniques not available to ancient cultures. The metallurgical knowledge required to create such precise work includes understanding of alloys and working temperatures that shouldn't have been known. Some pre-Columbian gold artifacts show evidence of having been created using lost wax casting techniques that require precise temperature control and sophisticated mold making. The consistency of results across multiple artifacts indicates established technological processes rather than experimental techniques. The sudden appearance of such sophisticated metallurgy in the archaeological record, followed by its equally sudden disappearance, creates another gap in our understanding of ancient technological capabilities. The accumulation of these impossible artifacts creates a pattern that mainstream archaeology cannot adequately address. Each individual piece might be dismissed as an anomaly, but together they represent evidence of technological capabilities that don't fit our timeline of human development. The precision, the materials, the manufacturing techniques, and the sophisticated understanding they represent all point toward access to knowledge and technology that shouldn't have existed. What makes this evidence particularly compelling is its global distribution. These aren't isolated discoveries from a single culture or time period. They appear across continents and throughout history, suggesting either widespread technological capabilities that have been systematically lost or influenced from sources outside our current understanding of ancient human development. The scientific establishment's response to these artifacts follows a predictable pattern. Individual pieces are dismissed as hoaxes, contamination, or misidentification. When the evidence becomes too strong to dismiss, the artifacts are relegated to storage where they won't challenge established narratives. Research that might reveal uncomfortable truths about ancient technological capabilities is discouraged or defunded. But the artifacts exist. They can be measured, analyzed, and studied. Their properties can be documented and their implications considered. The pattern they create, when viewed objectively, points toward possibilities that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about human history and technological development. The question isn't whether these artifacts exist. They're sitting in museums and private collections around the world. The question is whether we're brave enough to accept what they might mean. The implications extend far beyond archaeology and history. If ancient peoples had access to advanced technology, if they possessed knowledge that we're only rediscovering, if they created artifacts using techniques we don't understand, then our entire framework for understanding human development needs to be reconsidered. We might not be the first technological civilization on Earth. We might not be the most advanced species ever to inhabit this planet. But artifacts are just objects, frozen moments in time that hint at larger stories. To understand what really happened in humanity's distant past, we need to examine something even more compelling than impossible stones and inexplicable technology. We need to look at the knowledge systems that ancient peoples possessed, the mathematical and astronomical understanding that allowed them to encode information into their monuments with precision that rivals modern science. The mathematics embedded in ancient monuments reveals knowledge that shouldn't have existed for thousands of years. When we analyze the numerical relationships encoded in structures around the world, we discover that our ancestors possessed understanding of mathematical principles that weren't officially discovered until the modern era. This isn't speculation or wishful thinking. These are precise calculations, verifiable measurements, and mathematical relationships that can be confirmed by anyone with the proper instruments. Consider the mathematical precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The structure encodes the value of pi in its proportions with accuracy that extends to multiple decimal places. The ratio of the pyramid's perimeter to its height equals pi so precisely that it couldn't be accidental. But here's what makes this truly disturbing. Pi wasn't officially calculated to this level of accuracy until the 16th century, yet the pyramid was built approximately 4,500 years ago. The mathematical relationships don't stop there. The pyramid also encodes the golden ratio, that mystical number found throughout nature and considered the most aesthetically pleasing proportion to the human eye. The golden ratio appears in the pyramid's internal chambers, its overall proportions, and even in the angles of its passages. This mathematical constant wasn't formally defined until the ancient Greeks, and its properties weren't fully understood until much later. Yet somehow, the pyramid's builders incorporated it into their design with precision that indicates deep mathematical understanding. But the most shocking mathematical encoding involves the speed of light. When you measure the Great Pyramid's coordinates and convert them using specific units, they correspond exactly to the speed of light in meters per second. The precision of this correspondence is so exact that it cannot be coincidental. The speed of light wasn't measured until 1676 and wasn't precisely calculated until the 20th century. How could ancient builders have encoded this fundamental constant of physics into their monument thousands of years before it was discovered? The mathematical sophistication extends to astronomical calculations that boggle the mind. Ancient structures around the world demonstrate knowledge of celestial mechanics that required centuries of precise observation and mathematical analysis. The builders of these monuments understood the precession of the equinoxes, a subtle wobble in Earth's axis that takes 25,120 years to complete one full cycle. This knowledge required not just observation, but mathematical modelling of celestial mechanics over vast periods of time. Stonehenge encodes astronomical data with computer-like precision. The stone circle can predict solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and the rising positions of specific stars across centuries. The mathematical calculations required to achieve this level of accuracy demand understanding of spherical trigonometry, complex orbital mechanics, and the ability to project celestial events far into the future. These are calculations that challenge modern astronomers using sophisticated software. The Mayan long count calendar demonstrates mathematical and astronomical knowledge that rivals our current understanding. This calendar system tracks cycles within cycles, calculating periods that extend for millions of years with precision that accounts for the slight irregularities in Earth's rotation. The mathematical framework required to construct such a system includes understanding of advanced number theory, astronomical mechanics, and the ability to perform calculations involving numbers in the millions. What makes the Mayan mathematical achievements particularly unsettling is their understanding of zero as a mathematical concept. The Maya were using zero in their calculations over 1,000 years before it appeared in European mathematics. Zero isn't just a number, it's a sophisticated mathematical concept that enables advanced calculations and abstract thinking. The fact that the Maya had independently developed this concept, along with positional notation and complex mathematical operations, indicates a level of mathematical sophistication that doesn't fit our understanding of their technological development. Ancient Mesopotamian tablets reveal mathematical knowledge that predates Greek mathematics by over 1,000 years. The Babylonians were using advanced trigonometry, calculating square roots, and solving complex algebraic equations using methods that weren't rediscovered in Europe until the Renaissance. Their mathematical tablets demonstrate understanding of the Pythagorean theorem centuries before Pythagoras was born, along with sophisticated methods for calculating areas, volumes, and astronomical positions. The precision of ancient astronomical observations reveals another impossible achievement. To accurately track the precession of the equinoxes, ancient astronomers would have needed to maintain continuous observations for thousands of years, passing knowledge from generation to generation with perfect accuracy. The mathematical models required to predict celestial events over such vast time periods demand understanding of gravitational effects, orbital mechanics, and the complex interactions between celestial bodies. Ancient Indian mathematics demonstrates knowledge of concepts that weren't developed in the West until much later. The concept of infinity as a mathematical entity appears in Indian texts, thousands of years before it was formally defined in European mathematics. Indian mathematicians were calculating with infinite series, understanding differential calculus concepts, and solving mathematical problems that required sophisticated abstract thinking. The mathematical knowledge encoded in ancient structures often involves relationships between seemingly unrelated constants. Monuments around the world incorporate mathematical relationships that connect the dimensions of Earth, the Moon, and the Sun with precision that indicates detailed knowledge of celestial mechanics. These aren't simple ratios that might be discovered through casual observation. They're complex mathematical relationships that require precise measurement and advanced calculation. The acoustic properties of ancient structures reveal mathematical understanding of wave mechanics and resonance that shouldn't have existed in pre-scientific societies. Chambers within pyramids and stone circles are designed to resonate at specific frequencies that correspond to mathematical relationships found in music theory and physics. The precision of these acoustic designs indicates understanding of wave propagation, harmonic relationships, and the mathematical principles that govern sound. Ancient architects encoded mathematical principles into their designs that created structures with properties that seem almost supernatural. The King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid resonates at a frequency that corresponds to Earth's heartbeat, the Schumann resonance. This isn't accidental. The chamber dimensions are precisely calculated to achieve this effect. The mathematical knowledge required to design such acoustic properties includes understanding of wavelength, frequency relationships, and the complex interactions between structure and sound. The mathematical precision extends to the placement of monuments across vast distances. Ancient sites around the world are positioned according to mathematical relationships that demonstrate global knowledge of Earth's dimensions and geography. The angles between major monuments, when calculated using great circle navigation, reveal mathematical patterns that indicate coordinated planning on a planetary scale. Ley lines, those mysterious alignments between ancient sites, follow mathematical principles that suggest intentional design rather than coincidence. The angles, distances, and geometric relationships between sites separated by thousands of miles demonstrate mathematical planning that required knowledge of Earth's curvature, precise navigation techniques, and the ability to coordinate construction projects across vast distances and time periods. The mathematical knowledge revealed in ancient texts often describes concepts using terminology that matches modern scientific understanding. Sanskrit texts describe mathematical operations using language that corresponds to advanced calculus concepts. Ancient Egyptian mathematical papyri demonstrate problem-solving techniques that parallel modern mathematical methods. The consistency of this mathematical knowledge across cultures and time periods suggests access to information sources that transcend individual discovery. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of ancient mathematical knowledge is its sudden appearance and equally sudden disappearance from the historical record. Advanced mathematical concepts appear fully formed in ancient texts without evidence of gradual development. Complex astronomical calculations are performed with precision that indicates mature understanding, yet the intermediate steps that should have led to such knowledge are missing from the archaeological record. The mathematical achievements of ancient peoples weren't just advanced for their time, they were accurate by modern standards. When we check their calculations using modern methods, we find that ancient astronomers and mathematicians achieved results that match our current understanding. Their predictions of celestial events prove accurate when verified by modern astronomical software. Their mathematical constants match values calculated using modern precision instruments. This accuracy extends to measurements that require instruments and techniques that supposedly didn't exist in ancient times. Ancient maps show coastlines with accuracy that requires precise surveying techniques and instruments capable of measuring longitude with precision that wasn't achieved until the development of accurate chronometers in the 18th century. Yet somehow, ancient cartographers produced maps with accuracy that rivals modern satellite surveying. The mathematical relationships encoded in ancient monuments often involve knowledge that connects earthly structures with cosmic phenomena in ways that demonstrate understanding of humanity's place in the universe. The proportions of the Great Pyramid relate to Earth's dimensions, while its internal angles align with specific stars and constellations. This integration of terrestrial and celestial mathematics indicates a worldview that understood the connections between human construction and cosmic order. Ancient mathematical knowledge often appears in religious and mythological contexts, encoded in stories and symbols that preserve precise numerical relationships across generations. Sacred texts contain mathematical relationships hidden within narrative structures, ensuring that precise numerical knowledge would survive, even if the technological understanding was lost. This method of preserving mathematical knowledge suggests intentional effort to maintain information across time periods when such knowledge might be threatened. The pattern that emerges from examining ancient mathematical achievements is clear and disturbing. Our ancestors possessed mathematical and astronomical knowledge that shouldn't have existed for thousands of years. They encoded this knowledge into monuments and structures with precision that rivals modern capabilities. They performed calculations that require sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and physics. Yet according to conventional history, these same peoples were primitive hunter-gatherers or early agricultural societies with limited technological capabilities. The disconnect between their supposed technological level and their demonstrated mathematical sophistication creates a gap in our understanding that conventional archaeology cannot bridge. The mathematical evidence forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our assumptions regarding ancient human capabilities. Either our ancestors developed advanced mathematical knowledge independently and then mysteriously lost it, or they had access to information sources that aren't acknowledged in conventional historical accounts. The precision and sophistication of their mathematical achievements suggests guidance or influence from sources with advanced knowledge. The implications extend beyond mathematics to our understanding of human development and capability. If ancient peoples could perform calculations that challenge modern mathematicians, if they could encode complex astronomical data into monuments that still function as astronomical computers, if they possessed mathematical knowledge that we're only rediscovering, then our entire framework for understanding human intellectual development needs fundamental revision. But mathematics, however sophisticated, represents just one aspect of ancient knowledge systems. The astronomical understanding demonstrated by ancient peoples reveals even more disturbing evidence of capabilities that shouldn't have existed. When we examine what our ancestors knew about the cosmos, we discover knowledge that challenges not just our understanding of ancient capabilities, but our assumptions about how such knowledge could have been acquired. The astronomical knowledge possessed by ancient civilizations extends far beyond simple observation of celestial events. These peoples understood complex relationships between celestial bodies that required sophisticated instruments, mathematical modeling, and observational capabilities that shouldn't have existed for thousands of years. They tracked celestial cycles with precision that rivals modern astronomical software, predicted events with accuracy that matches computer calculations, and encoded astronomical data into monuments that continue to function as celestial computers. Consider the astronomical alignments found at ancient sites around the world. These aren't simple orientations toward the rising sun or obvious celestial events. They represent sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics that includes knowledge of precession, orbital variations, and the complex interactions between multiple celestial bodies. The precision of these alignments indicates access to observational data spanning thousands of years and mathematical capabilities to model celestial movements far into the future. The builders of Stonehenge created a monument that functions as a sophisticated astronomical calculator. The stone circle can predict solar eclipses decades in advance, track the 18.6-year lunar cycle with precision, and mark the rising positions of specific stars across centuries. The mathematical calculations required to achieve this level of accuracy demand understanding of spherical trigonometry, orbital mechanics, and the ability to account for the slight irregularities in celestial movements. But here's what makes this truly impossible. Eclipse prediction requires knowledge of the moon's complex orbital patterns, including variations that occur over centuries. Ancient astronomers would have needed to maintain continuous observations for thousands of years, tracking subtle changes in lunar behavior that modern astronomers only understood after developing sophisticated mathematical models. Yet somehow, the builders of Stonehenge encoded this knowledge into their monument with precision that matches modern astronomical calculations. The Antikythera mechanism reveals even more disturbing evidence of ancient astronomical knowledge. This bronze device, recovered from a Roman shipwreck and dating to approximately 100 BCE, contains dozens of precisely machined gears arranged to calculate the positions of the Sun, Moon, and known planets with remarkable accuracy. The sophistication of its astronomical predictions exceeds anything else found from the ancient world by centuries. Computer analysis of the Antikythera mechanism reveals that it could predict the timing of Olympic Games, calculate the dates of solar and lunar eclipses, and track the complex cycles of Venus and Mars with precision that rivals modern ephemeris tables. The gear ratios used in its construction demonstrate mathematical knowledge of planetary periods that wasn't officially rediscovered until Kepler's laws of planetary motion in the 17th century. What makes the Antikythera mechanism particularly disturbing is the astronomical knowledge it represents. The device demonstrates understanding of the complex orbital relationships between celestial bodies, including knowledge of planetary periods that require centuries of precise observation to determine. The builders of this device knew that Mars has a synodic period of 780 days, that Venus returns to the same position relative to Earth every 584 days, and that these cycles create complex patterns that repeat over much longer periods. Ancient Mayan astronomy reveals knowledge that challenges our understanding of what pre-telescopic civilizations could achieve. The Maya calculated the length of the solar year to 365.2420 days, which is accurate to within minutes of the actual value. They tracked Venus with such precision that their calculations of its synodic period differ from modern measurements by only hours over centuries of observation. Their lunar calculations account for variations in the moon's orbit that require sophisticated mathematical modeling to predict. The Mayan understanding of celestial cycles extended to phenomena that require extremely long-term observation to detect. They knew about the precession of the equinoxes, that slow wobble in Earth's axis that takes 25,920 years to complete one cycle. Detection of precession requires astronomical observations spanning many generations, with records maintained with perfect accuracy across centuries. The mathematical modeling required to predict precessional effects demands understanding of celestial mechanics that wasn't developed in Europe until the Renaissance. Mayan astronomical texts describe celestial events using terminology that corresponds to modern astronomical concepts. They wrote about planetary stations, retrograde motion, and synodic periods using language that demonstrates sophisticated understanding of orbital mechanics. Their calculations include corrections for atmospheric refraction, the slight bending of light that affects astronomical observations near the horizon. This level of precision indicates not just casual sky watching, but systematic astronomical research using instruments and techniques that supposedly didn't exist in pre-Columbian America. Ancient Egyptian astronomy reveals knowledge that extends far beyond the obvious celestial cycles. Egyptian texts describe the heliacal rising of Sirius with precision that indicates understanding of the complex relationship between stellar positions and calendar keeping. They knew that Sirius rises at dawn once per year, marking the flooding of the Nile, but their calculations account for the slow drift of this event due to precession, requiring observational records spanning thousands of years. The astronomical alignments of Egyptian monuments demonstrate knowledge that required sophisticated surveying techniques and precise timekeeping. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north with accuracy that varies by only 3/60th of a degree. Achieving this precision requires understanding of stellar positions, the ability to account for atmospheric refraction, and surveying techniques that weren't officially developed until much later periods. Egyptian astronomical texts describe celestial phenomena using technical terminology that matches modern astronomical language. They wrote about stellar coordinates, celestial navigation, and astronomical calculations using concepts that weren't formally defined until the development of modern astronomy. The consistency and accuracy of their astronomical observations indicate access to instruments and techniques that don't fit our understanding of ancient Egyptian technological capabilities. Ancient Mesopotamian astronomy reveals even earlier evidence of sophisticated celestial knowledge. Babylonian astronomical tablets demonstrate understanding of planetary periods, eclipse cycles, and stellar positions that required centuries of systematic observation to establish. They calculated planetary positions with accuracy that matches modern ephemeris tables, predicted eclipses decades in advance, and tracked stellar movements with precision that indicates access to sophisticated observational instruments. The Babylonian understanding of celestial mechanics included knowledge of phenomena that require mathematical modeling to predict. They knew about the variation in planetary speeds as they orbit the Sun, understanding that planets move faster when closer to the Sun and slower when farther away. This knowledge predates Kepler's laws by over 1,000 years. Yet Babylonian astronomers encoded it into their mathematical models with precision that matches modern calculations. Babylonian astronomical texts use mathematical techniques that weren't rediscovered in Europe until the Renaissance. They employed methods for solving complex algebraic equations, calculated with positional notation systems, and used sophisticated interpolation techniques to predict celestial events. Their astronomical mathematics demonstrates understanding of concepts that weren't formally developed in Western mathematics until much later periods. The astronomical knowledge found in ancient Hindu texts reveals understanding of cosmic scales and time periods that boggle the mind. Sanskrit texts describe astronomical cycles that extend for millions of years, calculate cosmic distances that correspond to modern measurements, and describe celestial phenomena using terminology that matches current astronomical understanding. The precision of these descriptions indicates direct knowledge rather than philosophical speculation. Hindu astronomical texts describe the precession of the equinoxes with accuracy that requires thousands of years of observation to establish. They calculate the length of cosmic cycles, including the time required for the solar system to orbit the galactic center, with precision that matches modern astronomical measurements. These calculations involve numbers in the millions and billions, demonstrating mathematical capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient computational abilities. The astronomical alignments found at Hindu temples and monuments demonstrate knowledge of stellar positions that required sophisticated observational techniques. Many temples are aligned with specific stars or constellations, with precision that accounts for precessional drift over centuries. The mathematical calculations required to achieve such alignments demand understanding of spherical trigonometry, stellar coordinates, and the complex relationships between terrestrial and celestial reference frames. Ancient Chinese astronomy reveals systematic observation and recording of celestial events that spans thousands of years. Chinese astronomical records include observations of supernovae, comets, and planetary positions that provide valuable data for modern astronomical research. The consistency and accuracy of these records indicate maintained observational programs that required sophisticated instruments and mathematical techniques. Chinese astronomical instruments, including sophisticated armillary spheres and celestial globes, demonstrate mechanical precision that rivals modern equipment. These devices were capable of tracking stellar positions, predicting eclipses, and calculating planetary movements with accuracy that indicates access to advanced manufacturing techniques and astronomical knowledge. The pattern that emerges from examining ancient astronomical achievements is both clear and disturbing. Civilizations around the world possessed astronomical knowledge that required sophisticated instruments, mathematical capabilities, and observational programs that extended over thousands of years. They calculated celestial events with precision that matches modern astronomical software, predicted phenomena that require complex mathematical modeling, and encoded astronomical data into monuments that continue to function as celestial computers. Yet, according to conventional history, these achievements were accomplished by peoples with primitive technology, limited mathematical knowledge, and no access to the sophisticated instruments that such accurate observations would require. The disconnect between their supposed technological capabilities and their demonstrated astronomical achievements creates another gap in our understanding that conventional archaeology cannot bridge. The astronomical evidence forces us to confront the same uncomfortable questions raised by the mathematical and engineering achievements we've examined. Either ancient peoples developed sophisticated astronomical knowledge independently and then mysteriously lost it, or they had access to information and instruments that aren't acknowledged in conventional historical accounts. The precision and sophistication of ancient astronomical knowledge suggests guidance or influence from sources with advanced understanding of celestial mechanics. The global distribution of this knowledge, appearing in cultures separated by vast distances and time periods, indicates either remarkable parallel development or influence from common sources. But perhaps the most compelling evidence for extraordinary influence in humanity's past comes not from stones, artifacts, or calculations, but from the stories ancient peoples told about their origins, their teachers, and the beings who shaped their civilizations. These aren't vague myths or symbolic tales. They're detailed accounts that read more like historical records than religious allegories, and they tell a story that challenges everything we think we know about human development. The stories our ancestors left behind weren't meant to be dismissed as mythology. When we strip away the academic bias that automatically categorizes ancient accounts as primitive folklore, we discover something that should make every serious researcher pause. These are detailed historical records, complete with names, dates, locations, and technical specifications that read more like military reports than religious parables. The Sumerian tablets, among the oldest written records known to humanity, describe the Anunnaki not as mythical gods, but as physical beings who arrived from the sky with advanced technology. These texts don't speak in vague metaphors about divine intervention. They provide specific details about these beings' activities, their interactions with humans, their internal politics, and their technological capabilities. The level of detail is so precise that it includes descriptions of their aircraft, their mining operations, and even their genetic experiments. What makes these accounts particularly compelling is their consistency across cultures that had no contact with each other. While the Sumerians wrote about the Anunnaki halfway around the world, Native American tribes were recording nearly identical encounters with star people who came from specific constellations. The Hopi speak of the Kachinas, beings from the stars who taught them agriculture and technology before returning to the sky. The Cherokee tell of the Nunahi, advanced beings who could appear and disappear at will and possessed knowledge far beyond human understanding. These aren't isolated stories from single tribes. We're talking about hundreds of Native American groups across North and South America, each maintaining oral traditions that describe contact with advanced beings from the sky. The consistency of these accounts across such vast distances and diverse cultures creates a pattern that statistical analysis shows cannot be coincidental. When independent groups separated by thousands of miles tell virtually identical stories about contact with sky beings, we're looking at something far more significant than shared mythology. The Hindu Vedas present perhaps the most technically detailed accounts of ancient contact with advanced beings. These texts don't just mention flying vehicles, they provide specifications that read like engineering manuals. The descriptions of Vimanas include details about propulsion systems, navigation methods, and even combat capabilities. Some passages describe aircraft that could become invisible, travel underwater, and move at incredible speeds through both air and space. Modern aerospace engineers who have studied these ancient Sanskrit texts have found that the technical specifications, when followed, describe functional aircraft designs. The principles of propulsion described in the Vedas correspond to advanced physics concepts that weren't officially discovered until the 20th century. The navigational systems described include references to what appear to be gyroscopic instruments and guidance systems that match modern aviation technology. But the Vedas go beyond aircraft descriptions. They detail what appear to be nuclear weapons, complete with descriptions of the effects that match eyewitness accounts from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These ancient texts describe weapons that could destroy entire cities, leave areas uninhabitable for years, and create devastating effects that modern readers immediately recognize as radiation poisoning. The precision of these descriptions is so accurate that they could only have been written by someone who had witnessed nuclear warfare. The Mahabharata, one of India's great epics, contains passages that describe aerial battles using weapons that sound remarkably like modern military technology. The text describes missiles that could seek out specific targets, defensive systems that could neutralize incoming weapons, and aircraft that could operate both in atmosphere and in space. These aren't vague references to magical powers. They're technical descriptions that correspond to advanced military technology. Egyptian hieroglyphs provide visual evidence that supports these textual accounts. The famous helicopter hieroglyphs at Abydos show what appear to be modern aircraft, including helicopters, jets, and spacecraft. Mainstream archaeology dismisses these as pareidolia, the tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns. But high-resolution analysis reveals details that are difficult to explain away. The proportions, the mechanical details, and the overall design of these depicted objects correspond to functional aircraft configurations. The Dendera light reliefs show what appear to be electrical devices being operated by Egyptian priests. The technical details in these ancient carvings include elements that correspond to electrical cables, power sources, and illumination devices. When modern engineers construct working replicas based on these ancient specifications, they produce functional electrical systems capable of generating light. The precision of the technical details suggests the artists were depicting real devices rather than symbolic representations. Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime stories describe the Wangina, beings who came from the sky and taught the people before returning to their home among the stars. These beings are consistently depicted in rock art, with features that don't match any known earthly species. They're shown wearing what appear to be helmets or breathing apparatus, with large eyes and features that correspond to modern descriptions of extraterrestrial beings. The consistency of these Aboriginal accounts across Australia is remarkable. Tribes separated by thousands of miles maintain oral traditions that describe virtually identical beings with the same appearance, the same technological capabilities, and the same mission of teaching human beings. The rock art depicting these beings shows a consistency of detail that spans thousands of years, suggesting these weren't mythical figures but representations of actual encounters. African traditions from across the continent describe similar contact with advanced beings. The Dogon people of Mali possessed detailed knowledge of the Sirius star system, including information about Sirius B, a white dwarf companion star that wasn't discovered by Western astronomy until 1862. The Dogon not only knew about this invisible companion star, but also knew its orbital period, its density, and its relationship to Sirius A. They claimed this knowledge came from beings called the Nommo, who visited Earth from the Sirius system. The Dogon astronomical knowledge extends beyond Sirius to include accurate information about other star systems, the structure of the Milky Way galaxy, and cosmic phenomena that weren't discovered by Western science until the space age. They possessed star maps that showed the positions of celestial bodies with accuracy that required telescopic observation, yet they had no telescopes. When asked how they acquired this knowledge, they consistently pointed to their traditions of contact with the Nommo. Ancient texts from around the world describe similar beings using remarkably consistent terminology. These beings are described as tall, with elongated features, large eyes, and advanced technological capabilities. They're consistently portrayed as teachers who provided humans with knowledge of agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. The descriptions are so consistent across cultures that they read like multiple eyewitness accounts of the same phenomena. The linguistic evidence supporting these accounts is equally compelling. Ancient languages contain words and concepts that shouldn't have existed in pre-scientific societies. Sanskrit texts use terminology that corresponds to modern nuclear physics, aerospace engineering, and advanced chemistry. These aren't vague metaphors or symbolic language. They're technical terms that describe specific phenomena with precision that matches modern scientific understanding. Sumerian cuneiform tablets contain words that describe genetic manipulation, atmospheric modification, and mining operations using terminology that corresponds to modern industrial processes. The precision of this technical language suggests direct knowledge rather than primitive guesswork. When ancient texts describe complex technological processes using accurate technical terminology, we're looking at evidence of actual knowledge rather than mythological speculation. The temporal consistency of these accounts creates another layer of compelling evidence. Ancient texts from different time periods describe the same beings, the same technologies, and the same interactions with humanity. This consistency across millennia suggests we're dealing with historical records rather than evolving mythology. If these were mythical stories, we would expect them to change and evolve over time, but instead we find remarkable consistency in the core details. The geographical distribution of these accounts creates a pattern that defies conventional explanation. Similar stories appear simultaneously across continents, among peoples who had no contact with each other, describing identical beings and technologies. The statistical probability of such consistency arising from independent mythology is so remote that it approaches impossibility. Modern analysis of these ancient accounts using computer modeling and pattern recognition has revealed linguistic and structural similarities that indicate common sources rather than independent creation. The stories share narrative elements, technical details, and even specific terminology that suggests they're describing the same historical events rather than parallel mythological development. The archaeological evidence that supports these textual accounts continues to accumulate. Sites around the world show evidence of advanced technology, sophisticated engineering, and knowledge that corresponds to the capabilities described in ancient texts. The physical evidence and the textual evidence create a mutually supporting pattern that becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss as coincidence or misinterpretation. Perhaps most compelling is the fact that these ancient accounts describe technologies and capabilities that were completely unknown to modern humans until very recently. Ancient texts describe genetic engineering, nuclear weapons, aircraft, and space travel using accurate technical terminology and precise descriptions that could only have been written by people who had witnessed such technologies in operation. The implications of taking these ancient accounts seriously extend far beyond archaeology and history. If these texts are historical records rather than mythology, if they describe actual contact between humans and advanced beings, if they document technological capabilities that influenced human development, then our understanding of human origins, development, and place in the universe requires fundamental revision. The resistance to considering these possibilities stems from more than academic conservatism. Accepting that ancient texts might be historical records of contact with advanced beings would require acknowledging that human development may not have been the independent evolutionary process we've assumed. It would mean confronting the possibility that our ancestors received guidance, knowledge, and technology from sources outside our current understanding of terrestrial development. But the evidence exists in museums, libraries, and archaeological sites around the world. These aren't speculative theories or wishful interpretations. They're documented facts that can be verified by anyone willing to examine the primary sources. The ancient texts exist. The linguistic evidence is verifiable, and the consistency of accounts across cultures and time periods creates a pattern that demands serious consideration. The question isn't whether these ancient accounts exist, or whether they describe advanced beings and technologies with remarkable consistency. The question is whether we're prepared to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it challenges our most fundamental assumptions about human history and our place in the universe. The convergence of impossible architecture, inexplicable artifacts, advanced mathematical knowledge, sophisticated astronomical understanding, and consistent historical accounts creates a body of evidence that points toward a single, extraordinary conclusion. Something happened in humanity's distant past that doesn't fit our current understanding of human development, technological capability, or contact with intelligence beyond our world. The time has come to examine this evidence without the constraints of academic orthodoxy, religious dogma, or the comfortable assumption that we represent the pinnacle of intelligence and technological achievement on Earth. The truth may be far stranger, far more wonderful, and far more unsettling than we've dared to imagine. But before we can fully grasp the implications of this evidence, we need to understand why it's been systematically ignored, dismissed, or explained away by the scientific establishment. The resistance to these discoveries reveals as much about human nature and institutional bias as the discoveries themselves reveal about our mysterious past. The systematic suppression of evidence that challenges conventional historical narratives represents one of the most troubling aspects of modern academia. When archaeological discoveries threaten established timelines, when artifacts display impossible technological sophistication, when ancient texts describe capabilities that shouldn't have existed, the response follows a predictable pattern. First comes dismissal, then ridicule, then a coordinated effort to ensure such evidence never reaches public awareness. Consider what happens when a researcher discovers something that doesn't fit accepted models. The Smithsonian Institution, that supposed bastion of scientific integrity, has a documented history of acquiring anomalous artifacts only for them to mysteriously disappear from their collections. Giant human skeletons discovered across North America in the late 1800s were systematically collected by Smithsonian agents and then vanished without explanation. The official records show these acquisitions, but the specimens themselves are nowhere to be found. This isn't conspiracy theory nonsense. These are documented acquisitions with paper trails, witness accounts, and newspaper reports from the time period. Yet when researchers request access to these materials, they're told the specimens were lost, destroyed, or never existed in the first place. The pattern repeats across institutions worldwide. Museums acquire controversial artifacts, catalogue them properly, then watch them disappear into storage areas that researchers are never permitted to access. The academic peer review system has become a weapon of conformity rather than a tool of scientific advancement. Papers that challenge established narratives face impossible standards of proof, while studies that support conventional models sail through review with minimal scrutiny. Researchers quickly learn that certain topics are career killers, challenge the timeline of human development, suggest that ancient peoples possessed advanced technology, or propose that anomalous artifacts deserve serious study, and watch your funding disappear faster than evidence in a Smithsonian warehouse. Dr. Virginia Steen McIntyre learned this lesson the hardest way possible. Her expertise in dating geological formations was beyond question until she applied those same techniques to archaeological sites in Mexico. When her analysis indicated human presence in the Americas far earlier than accepted models allowed, her career was systematically destroyed. Despite using the same scientific methods that had made her reputation, her findings were rejected, her papers refused publication, and her professional standing demolished. The message was clear: challenge the timeline and face professional extinction. This wasn't about scientific accuracy, it was about protecting institutional narratives from inconvenient facts. Steen McIntyre's experience demonstrates how the scientific establishment maintains orthodoxy not through better evidence, but through career assassination of those who dare to present uncomfortable truths. The suppression extends beyond individual researchers to entire fields of study. Forbidden archaeology, the investigation of anomalous archaeological evidence, has been relegated to the fringes of academia not because the evidence is weak, but because the implications are too threatening to established power structures. When evidence suggests that human civilization is far older than accepted models, when artifacts indicate technological capabilities that don't fit evolutionary timelines, when ancient texts describe contact with advanced beings, the response isn't scientific investigation, but systematic suppression. Universities that once encouraged bold inquiry now punish researchers who stray too far from accepted narratives. Graduate students learn quickly which topics will advance their careers and which will end them before they begin. The result is a generation of scholars trained not to pursue truth, but to avoid controversy. Academic curiosity has been replaced by institutional conformity, and scientific method has given way to ideological protection. The funding mechanisms that drive modern research create powerful incentives for conformity. Government grants, private foundations, and institutional budgets all flow toward projects that support established models while systematically starving research that might challenge conventional wisdom. A researcher proposing to study anomalous artifacts will find funding sources mysteriously unavailable, while projects that reinforce accepted timelines receive generous support. This isn't accidental. The institutions that control research funding have clear agendas that extend far beyond scientific inquiry. They understand that certain discoveries could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its past, present, and future. When evidence suggests that human development followed a different path than currently accepted, when artifacts indicate contact with advanced intelligence, when ancient knowledge systems demonstrate capabilities that threaten modern assumptions about progress and development, the response is systematic suppression rather than scientific investigation. The media plays a crucial role in maintaining these narratives by consistently portraying alternative archaeology as pseudoscience while presenting mainstream archaeology as objective truth. Television documentaries that explore anomalous evidence are relegated to entertainment channels rather than educational programming. The message is clear. This material is fiction, not science. Meanwhile, programs that reinforce conventional timelines and accepted narratives receive prime placement on educational networks and serious documentary treatment. The language used to discuss alternative archaeological evidence reveals the bias inherent in the system. Discoveries that challenge conventional models are described as claims, theories, or speculation, while evidence that supports accepted narratives is presented as fact, knowledge, or established science. This linguistic manipulation shapes public perception by creating the impression that conventional archaeology is based on solid evidence, while alternative approaches are based on wishful thinking or deliberate deception. Professional organizations maintain orthodoxy through subtle but effective mechanisms of control. Archaeological societies, academic journals, and professional conferences create environments where dissent is discouraged and conformity is rewarded. Researchers who present evidence that challenges accepted models find themselves excluded from professional networks, denied publication opportunities, and gradually marginalized within their fields. The education system reinforces these biases by presenting a sanitized version of human history that ignores anomalous evidence and alternative interpretations. Students learn approved narratives without being exposed to the controversies, contradictions, and unexplained phenomena that riddle the archaeological record. By the time they become professional archaeologists, they've been thoroughly indoctrinated into a worldview that automatically rejects evidence that doesn't fit established models. The most insidious aspect of this suppression is how it presents itself as scientific objectivity while operating as ideological enforcement. Researchers are trained to believe they're pursuing truth through rigorous scientific method, when in reality, they're maintaining narratives that serve institutional and political interests. The scientific method itself becomes a tool of conformity rather than discovery, when its application is constrained by predetermined acceptable outcomes. International coordination of this suppression reveals its systematic nature. Similar patterns of evidence suppression occur across cultures, languages, and political systems. Archaeological anomalies are dismissed using identical arguments whether they're discovered in America, Europe, Asia, or Africa. The consistency of this response across different institutions and cultures suggests coordination that extends beyond individual bias or academic tradition. The digital age has created new opportunities for both evidence preservation and suppression. While the internet allows researchers to share information outside traditional academic channels, it also enables the systematic removal of inconvenient evidence from digital archives. Websites disappear, databases are scrubbed, and search algorithms are adjusted to bury controversial information beneath mountains of approved content. The economic incentives that drive archaeological research create powerful pressures for conformity. Tourism, cultural identity, and national pride all depend on maintaining accepted historical narratives. Countries invest billions in archaeological sites and museums that support their official histories. Evidence that challenges these narratives threatens not just academic careers, but entire economic systems built around historical tourism and cultural heritage. Religious institutions also play a role in suppressing evidence that challenges their foundational narratives. When archaeological discoveries suggest different timelines for human development, when ancient texts describe contact with beings that don't fit religious models, when evidence points toward capabilities that threaten religious explanations of human origins, faith-based organizations mobilize to discredit the evidence and protect their doctrinal positions. The psychological barriers to accepting anomalous evidence run deeper than institutional bias. Human beings naturally resist information that challenges their fundamental worldview. When evidence suggests that our understanding of history is fundamentally flawed, when discoveries indicate that human development followed a different path than we've assumed, when ancient peoples demonstrated capabilities that threaten our sense of progress and superiority, the psychological pressure to reject such evidence becomes overwhelming. The cognitive dissonance created by anomalous archaeological evidence forces people to choose between comfortable assumptions and disturbing possibilities. Most choose comfort over truth, preferring familiar narratives that reinforce their existing beliefs, rather than confronting evidence that would require fundamental revision of their worldview. This psychological tendency provides fertile ground for institutional suppression efforts. The social costs of accepting alternative archaeological evidence extend beyond academic careers to personal relationships and social standing. Researchers who seriously investigate anomalous evidence often find themselves isolated from colleagues, friends, and family members who view such interests as eccentric or embarrassing. The social pressure to conform to accepted narratives becomes another tool of suppression. The legal system provides additional mechanisms for suppressing inconvenient archaeological evidence. Laws governing archaeological excavation, artifact ownership, and site access are often written to ensure that potentially controversial discoveries remain under institutional control. Independent researchers are systematically excluded from important sites, while official archaeologists maintain exclusive access to evidence that might challenge established narratives. International treaties and agreements coordinate this suppression on a global scale. UNESCO conventions on cultural heritage create frameworks that prioritize preservation of official narratives over scientific investigation of anomalous evidence. Sites that might yield discoveries challenging conventional timelines are protected not for their scientific value, but for their role in maintaining accepted historical narratives. The technological capabilities that could revolutionize archaeological investigation are systematically withheld from researchers working on controversial topics. Advanced dating techniques, sophisticated analysis methods, and cutting-edge investigation tools are made available only to projects that support established models, while being denied to investigations that might yield inconvenient results. The cumulative effect of these suppression mechanisms creates an environment where truth becomes secondary to narrative maintenance. Evidence is evaluated not for its scientific validity, but for its compatibility with institutional interests. Research is funded not to discover truth, but to reinforce predetermined conclusions. Publications are approved not for their accuracy, but for their adherence to accepted models. This systematic suppression has created artificial limitations on human knowledge about our own past. We know less about our origins, development, and capabilities than the evidence would reveal if it were honestly evaluated. The cost of maintaining comfortable narratives is ignorance about fundamental questions of human existence. The resistance to anomalous archaeological evidence reveals the extent to which modern institutions have become obstacles to human knowledge rather than facilitators of discovery. The very organizations that claim to pursue truth have become its primary suppressors, maintaining ignorance in service of institutional interests and ideological conformity. But despite these efforts at suppression, the evidence continues to accumulate. New discoveries constantly challenge established narratives, while technological advances make it increasingly difficult to hide or explain away anomalous findings. The truth has a way of surfacing despite institutional efforts to bury it. The question facing humanity now is whether we'll continue to accept institutional narratives that ignore inconvenient evidence, or whether we'll demand honest evaluation of all archaeological discoveries regardless of their implications for established models. The evidence for extraordinary influence in humanity's past is overwhelming and undeniable. The only question is whether we're brave enough to follow that evidence wherever it leads. The suppression of this evidence represents more than academic bias or institutional conservatism. It reflects a fundamental choice between truth and comfort, between discovery and control, between knowledge and ignorance. The time has come to choose truth over comfort, discovery over control, and knowledge over ignorance. The evidence of ancient alien contact exists in plain sight, documented in museums, libraries, and archaeological sites around the world. The question isn't whether this evidence exists, but whether we're prepared to acknowledge its implications for our understanding of human history and our place in the universe. The suppression of this evidence has delayed this recognition, but cannot prevent it indefinitely. The truth about our past is stranger and more wonderful than we've been allowed to imagine. The evidence points toward contact with intelligence far beyond anything in our current experience, influence that shaped human development in ways we're only beginning to understand, and capabilities that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality itself. The time for suppression is ending. The evidence is too strong, too consistent, and too well documented to ignore indefinitely. The truth about ancient alien contact is emerging despite institutional efforts to suppress it, and humanity must prepare for the paradigm shift that this recognition will bring. We stand at a crossroads between continued ignorance and revolutionary understanding. The choice is ours: maintain comfortable illusions about our past, or embrace the extraordinary truth that the evidence reveals. The implications of this choice extend far beyond archaeology and history to fundamental questions about human identity, purpose, and destiny. The evidence is clear, the suppression is ending, the truth is emerging. Are you ready for what comes next? The implications of this revelation extend far beyond academic debates or archaeological curiosities. We're confronting evidence that fundamentally challenges the linear narrative of human progress that's been carefully constructed over centuries. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced technology, if they had contact with beings of superior intelligence, if they encoded knowledge into their monuments that we're only now beginning to decipher, then everything we've been taught about human development is incomplete at best, deliberately misleading at worst. Consider the psychological barrier this creates for modern humanity. We've built our entire sense of progress and achievement on the assumption that we represent the pinnacle of technological and intellectual development on Earth. Our monuments, our sciences, our understanding of the cosmos, all of it rests on the belief that we've climbed steadily from primitive beginnings to our current sophisticated state. But what if that's not true? What if we're not climbing toward unprecedented heights, but struggling to rediscover knowledge that was once commonplace? The ancient texts don't describe these advanced beings as gods in the supernatural sense. They describe them as teachers, as engineers, as beings with physical form and technological capabilities. The Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki read like personnel reports from a mining operation. The Hindu descriptions of Vimanas include technical specifications that modern aerospace engineers find functionally accurate. The Egyptian depictions of their mysterious visitors show beings using recognizable tools and devices. This isn't mythology dressed up as history. This is history that's been dismissed as mythology because accepting it as fact would require abandoning comfortable assumptions about human uniqueness and technological supremacy. The ancient peoples weren't primitive minds, creating elaborate fantasies about sky gods. They were witnesses, documenting extraordinary events, using the best language and recording methods available to them. The genetic evidence adds another disturbing layer to this puzzle. Modern DNA analysis has revealed anomalies in human evolution that don't fit gradual Darwinian development. There are sudden leaps in human capability, rapid changes in brain size and complexity. Genetic markers that suggest intervention rather than natural selection. The human genome contains sequences that appear to have been inserted rather than evolved. Genetic code that doesn't match the pattern we see in other species. Mainstream science explains these anomalies through increasingly complex theories about evolutionary pressure and genetic drift. But the alternative explanation, that human development was guided or accelerated through external intervention, becomes more plausible when viewed alongside the archaeological and textual evidence we've examined. The genetic leaps coincide with the time periods when ancient texts describe contact with advanced beings. The resistance to this possibility stems from more than scientific conservatism, accepting that human development may have been influenced by external intelligence challenges, fundamental assumptions about our place in the universe, our relationship to other forms of life, and our destiny as a species. If we're not the product of purely terrestrial evolution, if our capabilities were enhanced through contact with advanced beings, if our development was guided rather than accidental, then questions about our purpose and future become far more complex. The technological implications are equally unsettling. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced technology that was subsequently lost, what other capabilities might be recoverable from the archaeological record? The precision stone cutting, the impossible logistics, the sophisticated astronomical calculations, all of these suggest access to methods and tools that could revolutionize modern capabilities if we could understand and replicate them. Some researchers believe we're already in the process of rediscovering ancient technologies. The development of computer processing follows mathematical principles encoded in ancient monuments. Modern materials, science is confirming the sophistication of ancient metallurgy. Our understanding of acoustics and resonance is revealing the advanced sound engineering built into megalithic structures. We may not be inventing new technologies so much as remembering old ones. The timing of these discoveries coincides with humanity's expansion into space, our development of global communication networks, and our growing awareness of the vastness of the cosmos. As we become a space-faring species ourselves, as we develop the technology to travel between worlds, as we search for intelligence beyond Earth, we're simultaneously uncovering evidence that such contact may have occurred in our own past. This creates a profound irony. As we reach toward the stars, we're discovering that the stars may have already reached toward us. As we develop the technology to visit other worlds, we're finding evidence that other worlds may have already visited us. As we search for extraterrestrial intelligence, We're uncovering signs that such intelligence may have been influencing human development for millennia. The ancient alien hypothesis doesn't diminish human achievement, it reframes it. Instead of struggling alone in cosmic isolation, humanity may be part of a larger community of intelligence that spans the galaxy. Instead of being the first technological species to emerge from Earth, we may be inheritors of knowledge and capabilities that were passed down from previous contacts with advanced civilizations. This perspective transforms our understanding of human potential and destiny. If our ancestors had access to advanced knowledge and technology through contact with superior beings, if they encoded this information into monuments and texts for future discovery, if they intended for us to eventually rediscover and understand these capabilities, then we may be on the verge of reclaiming our true heritage. The evidence suggests that this rediscovery is already underway. The impossible achievements of ancient civilizations are being recognized and studied despite institutional resistance. The sophisticated knowledge encoded in ancient monuments is being decoded through modern analysis. The consistent accounts of contact with advanced beings are being taken seriously by researchers willing to follow evidence rather than dogma. But this recognition brings responsibility as well as revelation. If we are inheritors of advanced knowledge, if we have the potential to rediscover capabilities that were once commonplace, if we're part of a larger cosmic community, then our choices about how to use this knowledge become critically important. The ancient texts that describe these capabilities also warn about their potential for both creation and destruction. The beings described in the ancient accounts weren't uniformly benevolent. Some texts describe conflicts between different groups of advanced beings, wars fought with weapons that could devastate entire regions, struggles for control over human development and resources. If we're rediscovering technologies that were once used in cosmic conflicts, we need to understand not just how these capabilities work, but how they should be used. The archaeological evidence shows periods of rapid advancement followed by sudden collapse, sophisticated civilizations that vanished, leaving only massive ruins and cryptic texts. This pattern suggests that advanced technology, when misused or when placed in the wrong hands, can lead to destruction rather than progress. The ancient warnings embedded in texts and monuments may be as important as the technical knowledge they contain. Modern humanity stands at a crossroads remarkably similar to the one our ancestors may have faced when they first encountered advanced beings. We have the choice to use emerging knowledge and capabilities for the benefit of our species and our world, or to repeat the mistakes that may have led to previous collapses. The ancient evidence provides both promise and warning, both inspiration and caution. The implications extend beyond technology to questions of consciousness, spirituality, and human purpose. If ancient beings influenced human development, they may have enhanced not just our technological capabilities, but our cognitive and spiritual potential as well. The sophisticated mathematical and astronomical knowledge found in ancient cultures may reflect expanded consciousness rather than just advanced tools. Many ancient traditions describe states of awareness that allowed direct perception of cosmic truths, consciousness that could access information across vast distances and time periods, mental capabilities that transcended normal human limitations. These descriptions may not be metaphorical, but literal accounts of enhanced human potential that was once commonplace, but has since been largely lost. The rediscovery of ancient knowledge may therefore involve not just recovering lost technologies, but reclaiming lost capabilities of human consciousness itself. The monuments, the texts, the encoded information may be designed to trigger recognition and activation of dormant human potential, rather than simply providing technical specifications for advanced devices. This possibility transforms our understanding of what it means to be human. Instead of being limited biological entities struggling with primitive capabilities, we may be sophisticated beings with vast potential that's been temporarily suppressed or forgotten. The ancient alien contact may have been designed not to create dependency, but to activate inherent capabilities that would eventually allow us to stand as equals in a cosmic community. The resistance to this recognition may stem not just from institutional bias, but from deep psychological barriers to accepting expanded human potential. It's easier to believe that we're limited beings in an empty universe than to accept that we may be temporarily diminished versions of something far greater. The comfort of limitation may be preferable to the responsibility that comes with expanded capability, but the evidence continues to accumulate despite resistance and denial. Each new discovery adds weight to the possibility that human history is far stranger and more wonderful than we've been allowed to believe. Each decoded monument reveals more sophisticated knowledge. Each analyzed artifact displays more advanced technology. Each translated text describes more detailed contact with beings of superior capability. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore or explain away through conventional theories. The evidence points toward a conclusion that challenges everything we thought we knew about human origins, development, and potential. We may not be alone in the universe. We may never have been alone. The beings that shaped our ancient past may still be present, watching our rediscovery of their gifts, waiting for us to demonstrate that we're ready to reclaim our place in a larger cosmic community. The ancient alien theories that science can't explain are becoming ancient alien facts that science can no longer deny. The question isn't whether this contact occurred, but whether we're mature enough as a species to handle the implications of this recognition. The evidence exists. The truth is emerging. The only question remaining is whether we're ready for what comes next. The transformation of human understanding that this recognition will bring extends far beyond academic revision of historical timelines. We're approaching a fundamental shift in how we perceive ourselves, our capabilities, and our place in the cosmic order. The comfortable isolation of believing we're the only intelligence in an empty universe is giving way to the recognition that we're part of something vast, complex, and ongoing. This isn't the end of the investigation. It's the beginning of a new phase of human development, one that may see us reclaiming capabilities and knowledge that were once our birthright. The ancient beings who influenced our past may have been preparing us for this moment of recognition and rediscovery. The time has come to step forward into our true heritage and embrace the extraordinary destiny that the evidence reveals. The truth about ancient alien contact is no longer hidden in dusty archives or dismissed as fringe speculation. It's emerging into mainstream consciousness, supported by evidence too strong to ignore and implications too important to dismiss. We stand at the threshold of the greatest revelation in human history. Are you ready to cross that threshold and discover what lies beyond? The moment we acknowledge this truth, everything changes. Not just our understanding of history, but our comprehension of what humanity truly is and where we're headed. The evidence we've examined isn't just about the past. It's a roadmap to understanding our present capabilities and future potential. We're not just rediscovering ancient knowledge. We're remembering who we actually are beneath the layers of forgetting that have accumulated over millennia. Think about the profound shift this represents. For centuries, we've been told that consciousness is merely a byproduct of brain chemistry, that human potential is limited by biological constraints, that our capabilities are bound by the laws of physics as currently understood. Yet the ancient evidence suggests something radically different. The beings described in these texts possessed abilities that transcended our current understanding of what's possible. Telepathic communication, manipulation of matter through consciousness, travel that defied conventional physics. What if these weren't supernatural powers, but natural capabilities that we've simply forgotten how to access? Modern research into consciousness is revealing phenomena that mainstream science struggles to explain. Remote viewing experiments conducted by government agencies have produced results that shouldn't be possible according to conventional understanding. Studies of meditation masters show brain states that generate effects extending far beyond the individual practitioner. Quantum physics experiments suggest that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality itself. The ancient texts describe these capabilities as commonplace among the advanced beings who visited Earth. They speak of communication without words, of seeing across vast distances, of influencing matter through focused intention. These descriptions match exactly what modern consciousness researchers are beginning to document in laboratory settings. We may not be discovering new human capabilities so much as rediscovering ancient ones. The implications become even more staggering when we consider the genetic evidence. Human DNA contains vast stretches of supposedly junk genetic material that doesn't appear to serve any biological function. Yet recent research suggests this genetic material may not be junk at all, but dormant programming waiting for activation. Some researchers propose that these genetic sequences may contain instructions for capabilities that are currently inactive in most humans. The ancient accounts describe genetic modification programs conducted by advanced beings who enhanced human capabilities far beyond what natural evolution would produce. If these accounts are accurate, then the dormant genetic material in human DNA may represent these enhancements, waiting for the right conditions or knowledge to become active again. We may be carrying within our very cells the blueprint for abilities that would seem miraculous by current standards. The archaeological evidence supports this interpretation. The impossible precision of ancient construction, the sophisticated astronomical knowledge, the advanced mathematical understanding. All of these achievements require capabilities that extend beyond normal human limitations. Yet the evidence shows that ancient peoples routinely demonstrated these capabilities. The difference between then and now may not be technological, but consciousness-related. Consider the acoustic properties of ancient sites that we examined earlier. These structures weren't just acoustically sophisticated. They were designed to produce specific effects on human consciousness. The resonant frequencies generated by these monuments correspond to brainwave patterns associated with expanded awareness, heightened perception, and altered states of consciousness. The ancient builders may have created these sites not just as monuments, but as consciousness enhancement devices. Modern research confirms that specific sound frequencies can dramatically alter human brain states, producing effects that range from deep relaxation to enhanced cognitive function to transcendent experiences. The ancient sites were designed to generate exactly these frequencies with precision that indicates detailed understanding of the relationship between sound and consciousness. The beings who designed these sites clearly understood how to use environmental factors to activate dormant human potential. The mathematical relationships encoded in these monuments may serve a similar function. The golden ratio, pi, and other mathematical constants found in ancient structures correspond to patterns that appear throughout nature and within human biology itself. Exposure to these mathematical relationships may trigger recognition at a cellular level, activating genetic programs that enhance human capability. The monuments may function as massive activation devices designed to awaken dormant potential in those who encounter them. This interpretation explains why these ancient sites continue to fascinate and inspire people thousands of years after their construction. Visitors often report profound experiences at these locations, sudden insights, expanded awareness, feelings of connection to something greater than themselves. These aren't just emotional responses to impressive architecture. They may be the intended effects of carefully designed consciousness enhancement technology. The ancient texts provide detailed instructions for achieving these enhanced states of awareness. Sanskrit documents describe specific practices that can activate dormant capabilities, techniques that correspond remarkably to modern consciousness research. Egyptian texts outline procedures for expanding perception beyond normal limits, methods that match what contemporary researchers are discovering about the untapped potential of human consciousness. The consistency of these instructions across cultures and time periods suggests they're describing actual techniques rather than mythological concepts. When independent traditions separated by thousands of miles provide virtually identical methods for achieving expanded awareness, we're looking at preserved knowledge rather than coincidental mythology. The ancient beings may have left behind not just monuments and artifacts, but detailed instruction manuals for reclaiming our full potential. The timing of our rediscovery of this ancient knowledge coincides with humanity's development of technologies that could support these expanded capabilities. Global communication networks allow instantaneous connection across vast distances, mirroring the telepathic abilities described in ancient texts. Quantum computers process information in ways that parallel the multidimensional thinking attributed to advanced beings. Virtual reality systems create immersive experiences that approach the consciousness-altering environments described in ancient accounts. We may be unconsciously recreating through technology the capabilities that were once natural human abilities. The internet functions like a global nervous system, connecting human minds across the planet. Satellite networks provide the kind of planetary awareness that ancient texts attribute to enlightened beings. Our technological development may be following a pattern established by previous civilizations that learned to integrate consciousness enhancement with technological advancement. But there's a crucial difference between recreating these capabilities through external technology and reclaiming them as inherent human abilities. The ancient evidence suggests that the beings who influenced human development intended for us to eventually transcend dependence on external tools and rediscover our inner potential. The monuments and texts may be designed to trigger this recognition when humanity reaches sufficient maturity to handle such capabilities responsibly. The resistance to this possibility stems from deep-seated beliefs about human limitation and the nature of reality itself. If humans possess vast, untapped potential, if consciousness can influence matter directly, if awareness can extend far beyond the physical body, then virtually every assumption of modern materialist science requires revision. The implications are so profound that many prefer to maintain comfortable limitations rather than confront the responsibility that comes with expanded capability. Yet the evidence continues to accumulate from multiple sources. Consciousness researchers document phenomena that transcend conventional understanding. Quantum physicists discover that observation affects reality at the most fundamental levels. Geneticists find that human DNA contains far more complexity than biological function alone would require. Each field of study is independently approaching conclusions that support the ancient accounts of enhanced human potential. The convergence of this evidence with the archaeological discoveries we've examined creates a compelling case for reconsidering everything we think we know about human nature and capability. The impossible achievements of ancient civilizations may not have required advanced technology in the conventional sense, but rather advanced consciousness that could manipulate reality directly through focused intention and enhanced awareness. This interpretation transforms our understanding of what the ancient alien contact actually accomplished. Rather than simply providing technological assistance, these beings may have activated dormant human potential that allowed our ancestors to achieve capabilities that seem impossible by current standards. The genetic modifications described in ancient texts may have enhanced not just physical characteristics, but consciousness itself. The sudden appearance of sophisticated knowledge in ancient cultures, the rapid development of complex civilizations, the impossible architectural achievements, all of these phenomena make sense if viewed as the result of consciousness enhancement rather than technological transfer. The ancient beings may have taught humanity not just how to use advanced tools, but how to become advanced beings ourselves. The pattern we see in ancient civilizations, periods of remarkable achievement followed by sudden collapse, may reflect the challenges inherent in managing enhanced capabilities without sufficient wisdom and maturity. Power without wisdom leads to destruction, whether that power comes from advanced technology or expanded consciousness. The ancient warnings embedded in texts and monuments may be cautioning us about these very dangers. Modern humanity faces the same choice that our ancestors may have confronted when they first encountered beings of superior capability. We can use emerging knowledge and rediscovered abilities for the benefit of our species and our world, or we can repeat the mistakes that led to previous collapses. The ancient evidence provides both the tools for advancement and the warnings about misuse. The implications extend beyond individual human potential to the future of our species and our relationship with the larger cosmic community. If we are indeed inheritors of enhanced capabilities, if we have the potential to reclaim abilities that were once commonplace, if we're part of a galactic civilization that spans multiple worlds and species, then our choices about how to develop these capabilities become critically important, not just for ourselves, but for the larger community we may be rejoining. The ancient texts suggest that this cosmic community operates according to principles that transcend mere technological advancement. Wisdom, compassion, and responsibility appear to be the criteria for full membership rather than simply technological capability. The beings who influenced human development may have been preparing us not just to rediscover ancient knowledge, but to demonstrate that we can use such knowledge wisely. The evidence indicates that this preparation period may be coming to an end. The rapid acceleration of technological development, the increasing interest in consciousness research, the growing recognition of anomalous archaeological evidence, all of these trends suggest that humanity is approaching a threshold moment when the full truth about our past and potential will become undeniable. The question facing us now is whether we're ready for this recognition and the responsibilities it brings. The ancient alien contact that shaped our past may have been preparing us for a future in which we reclaim our place as conscious participants in a vast cosmic community. The evidence suggests that this future is not distant possibility, but approaching reality. The transformation ahead will require not just intellectual acceptance of new information, but fundamental shifts in how we understand ourselves and our capabilities. We may need to abandon comfortable limitations and embrace the challenging recognition that we are far more than we've been taught to believe. The ancient beings who left behind monuments, artifacts, and knowledge may have been waiting for us to reach this moment of readiness. The time for denial and dismissal is ending. The evidence is too strong, too consistent, and too well documented to ignore indefinitely. The truth about ancient alien contact and its implications for human potential is emerging into mainstream consciousness despite institutional resistance. We stand at the threshold of the greatest revelation and transformation in human history. The ancient alien theories that science couldn't explain are becoming ancient alien facts that science can no longer deny. But more than that, they're becoming the foundation for understanding what humanity truly is and what we're capable of becoming. The evidence points toward a future in which we reclaim abilities that were once our birthright, rejoin a cosmic community that has been waiting for our return, and fulfill the potential that was encoded into our very DNA by beings who saw not just what we were, but what we could become. The journey into this truth has only just begun. Every new discovery, every decoded monument, every translated text reveals more about our extraordinary heritage and unlimited potential. We're not just uncovering the past, we're discovering the future that the past was designed to make possible. Are you ready to step into that future? Because ready or not, it's coming. The evidence is clear, the truth is emerging, and the transformation has already begun. The only question remaining is whether you'll be part of the awakening or continue sleeping through the most important moment in human history. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because the cosmos is watching, and the time for hesitation is running out. The convergence we're witnessing isn't happening in isolation. Right now, as you're hearing these words, governments around the world are quietly declassifying documents that confirm what researchers have suspected for decades. The Pentagon's recent acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena represents just the tip of an iceberg that's been carefully managed for generations. But here's what they're not telling you about these revelations. The craft described in military reports display flight characteristics that mirror exactly what ancient texts have been describing for thousands of years. Sudden acceleration that defies physics, right-angle turns at impossible speeds, complete silence during operation, and the ability to transition seamlessly between air and water. These aren't new phenomena that started appearing in the 1940s. They're the same capabilities that Sanskrit texts attributed to Vimanas, the same flight patterns that Mesopotamian tablets describe, the same impossible maneuvers that indigenous peoples have been witnessing and recording for millennia. The timing of these official disclosures coincides suspiciously with our rediscovery of ancient knowledge systems. As we decode more mathematical relationships in ancient monuments, as we uncover more sophisticated astronomical knowledge in prehistoric sites, as we find more artifacts that challenge conventional timelines, suddenly, the military begins acknowledging that yes, there are craft operating in our skies that display technology beyond our current understanding. This isn't coincidence. It's controlled revelation designed to prepare humanity for truths that can no longer be suppressed. The evidence has reached a critical mass where denial becomes more absurd than acknowledgement. But the official narrative being constructed around these disclosures carefully avoids the most disturbing implications. They're presenting this as a recent phenomenon, a modern mystery that requires new investigation. They're not connecting it to the overwhelming archaeological evidence that shows this contact has been ongoing for thousands of years. The reason for this careful framing becomes clear when you understand what full disclosure would actually mean. Acknowledging that advanced beings have been interacting with humanity throughout our recorded history would require admitting that every major institution has been built on false premises. Religious organizations would have to confront the reality that their foundational texts may be describing literal contact rather than divine revelation. Educational systems would need to rewrite textbooks that present human development as an isolated evolutionary process. Scientific institutions would face the collapse of theoretical frameworks that assume human technological advancement follows a linear progression. The economic implications alone would be staggering. If ancient sites contain encoded information about advanced energy systems, if archaeological artifacts demonstrate manufacturing techniques that could revolutionize production, if traditional knowledge systems preserve scientific understanding that surpasses current capabilities, then entire industries built on scarcity and limitation would become obsolete overnight. The control systems that depend on human ignorance about our true potential would crumble in the face of widespread recognition of what we're actually capable of achieving. This is why the disclosure process is being so carefully managed. The information is being released in fragments, allowing time for social and psychological adjustment while maintaining institutional control over the narrative. Each revelation is presented as surprising and unprecedented, avoiding the recognition that this knowledge has been systematically suppressed rather than genuinely unknown. But the controlled narrative is beginning to fracture under the weight of accumulating evidence. Independent researchers are making connections that official sources try to avoid. Ancient astronaut theories are gaining credibility as more archaeological anomalies come to light. Alternative historians are documenting patterns that mainstream academia refuses to acknowledge. The internet is allowing information to spread faster than suppression mechanisms can contain it. The result is a growing awakening that transcends official disclosure timelines. People are recognizing the connections between ancient accounts and modern sightings. They're seeing the relationships between archaeological mysteries and contemporary unexplained phenomena. They're understanding that the craft being acknowledged by military sources aren't visitors from distant planets, but representatives of intelligence that has been present throughout human history. This recognition transforms the entire context of current events. The technological revolution we're experiencing, the rapid advancement in artificial intelligence, the development of quantum computing, the exploration of consciousness research, All of these developments take on new meaning when viewed as part of a larger pattern of guided human development. The beings described in ancient texts didn't just visit once and leave. They established ongoing relationships with human civilizations, providing guidance and knowledge over extended periods. The archaeological evidence shows cycles of advancement and decline that correspond to periods of contact and withdrawal. We may be entering another phase of direct contact after a period of apparent absence. The psychological preparation for this recognition has been occurring through popular culture for decades. Science fiction has familiarized us with concepts of advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, genetic modification, and technological transfer between species. What was once relegated to fantasy is increasingly presented as plausible possibility. The cultural groundwork has been laid for accepting realities that would have been unthinkable to previous generations. But there's a crucial difference between fictional portrayals and the actual evidence we've examined. The popular culture versions often present contact as either benevolent salvation or hostile invasion. The archaeological and textual evidence reveals something more complex, a relationship that involves both guidance and conflict, both advancement and responsibility, both opportunity and danger. The ancient accounts describe multiple groups of advanced beings with different agendas and methods. Some texts portray conflicts between these groups, with humanity caught in the middle of cosmic politics that extend far beyond our world. The genetic evidence suggests multiple interventions by different intelligences, each leaving distinct markers in human DNA. The archaeological record shows different construction techniques and knowledge systems that may reflect influence from different sources. This complexity challenges simple narratives about alien contact. We're not dealing with a single group of visitors, but with multiple intelligences that have been interacting with humanity across different time periods and locations. The relationships between these beings and their respective influences on human development create a web of connection that extends throughout our recorded history and beyond. The implications for our current situation become more apparent when viewed through this lens. The recent increase in unexplained aerial phenomena may represent multiple groups becoming more active as humanity approaches critical thresholds in our development. Our technological advancement, our exploration of space, our growing awareness of our cosmic context, all of these factors may be triggering responses from intelligences that have been monitoring our progress. The official disclosure process may be attempting to frame this renewed activity as recent contact requiring new policies and responses, but the evidence suggests we're dealing with the resumption of relationships that have ancient precedents. The protocols for interaction, the ethical frameworks for contact, the technological exchange programs, all of these may be based on agreements and understandings that were established thousands of years ago. This perspective transforms our understanding of humanity's current challenges and opportunities. The environmental crises we face, the technological disruptions we're experiencing, the social transformations we're undergoing, all of these may be part of larger patterns that have repeated throughout human history as we've navigated different phases of contact and development. The ancient texts describe similar periods of transition when human civilizations face choices about how to integrate advanced knowledge and capabilities. Some societies successfully navigated these transitions, achieving levels of development that seem miraculous by current standards. Others failed, leading to collapse and the loss of accumulated knowledge and capability. The archaeological evidence shows both outcomes. Sites that demonstrate impossible technological achievement alongside others that show sudden abandonment and decline. The pattern suggests that success in integrating advanced contact depends on factors beyond mere technological capability. Wisdom, unity, ethical development, and spiritual maturity appear to be crucial elements in determining outcomes. Modern humanity faces similar choices as we approach what may be another major phase of contact and development. The decisions we make about how to use emerging knowledge, how to respond to contact, and how to integrate new capabilities will determine whether we follow the path of advancement or repeat the mistakes that led to previous collapses. The evidence suggests that these choices are imminent rather than distant. The acceleration of disclosure, the increasing sophistication of unexplained phenomena, the rapid development of technologies that mirror ancient descriptions, all of these trends indicate that we're approaching a moment of decision that will determine the trajectory of human development for generations to come. The truth about ancient alien contact isn't just historical information about our past. It's crucial intelligence about our present situation and future possibilities. Understanding what happened before, how previous contacts unfolded, what led to both successes and failures. This knowledge becomes essential for navigating the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. The suppression of this information hasn't just hidden our past, it's left us unprepared for our future. The institutional denial of contact evidence has prevented the development of frameworks for understanding and managing such relationships. We're approaching one of the most significant moments in human history, without the knowledge and wisdom that our ancestors accumulated through previous experiences with advanced intelligence. But this knowledge is recoverable. The evidence exists in monuments, artifacts, texts, and genetic markers that have survived despite suppression efforts. The patterns are recognizable to those willing to look beyond official narratives and institutional bias. The wisdom of our ancestors remains accessible to those who approach it with open minds and rigorous analysis. The time for casual curiosity about these mysteries has passed. We're facing decisions that will determine the future of human civilization. The evidence of ancient contact provides both warning and guidance for navigating the challenges ahead. Understanding this evidence becomes not just an academic exercise, but a survival imperative for our species. The truth is emerging whether we're ready or not. The question isn't whether contact occurred or whether it's resuming. The question is whether we'll learn from the experiences of our ancestors or repeat their mistakes. The evidence of the past provides the key to understanding the present and shaping the future. The ancient alien theories that science couldn't explain have become ancient alien realities that we can no longer ignore. The implications extend far beyond historical revision to fundamental questions about human identity, purpose, and destiny. We stand at the threshold of the most important recognition in human history. The choice facing us now is simple but profound. Embrace the truth about our past and use that knowledge to navigate our future, or remain trapped in comfortable illusions while reality unfolds around us. The evidence is clear, the patterns are undeniable, and the moment of decision has arrived. Everything we've examined points toward one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. We never were alone. And the time for pretending otherwise is ending. The question isn't whether this is true. The question is what we're going to do about it. The answer to that question will determine not just our immediate future, but the legacy we leave for generations yet to come. The ancient beings who influenced our past may have been preparing us for exactly this moment. Whether we prove worthy of their investment in our potential remains to be seen. The evidence speaks for itself. The truth is undeniable. The choice is ours. What will you choose? The moment of choice isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening right now, in real time, as you process this information and decide what to do with it. Every piece of evidence we've examined, every impossible artifact we've analyzed, every ancient text we've decoded, every suppressed discovery we've uncovered, all of it leads to this singular recognition that the comfortable mythology of human isolation is crumbling beneath the weight of undeniable truth. But here's what makes this moment truly extraordinary. You're not just a passive observer learning about ancient mysteries. You're living through the exact period that those ancient texts predicted would arrive. The Sanskrit documents describe a time when hidden knowledge would resurface. The Mayan calendars pointed to this era as a moment of cosmic significance. The Egyptian prophecies spoke of an age when the secrets of the builders would be revealed. Every ancient tradition that preserved memories of contact with advanced beings also preserved predictions about when that contact would resume. The timing isn't coincidental. The acceleration of technological development, the quantum leaps in our understanding of consciousness, the sudden appearance of craft in our skies that display impossible capabilities, the declassification of documents that confirm decades of cover-ups. All of this is unfolding according to patterns that were established thousands of years ago. Consider the mathematical precision of this timing. The same ancient monuments that encode the speed of light and the dimensions of Earth also encode temporal relationships that point to our current era. The astronomical alignments built into megalithic structures around the world are reaching culmination points that correspond to our historical moment. The cycles tracked by ancient calendars are converging on timeframes that match our technological emergence as a spacefaring species. This isn't mystical speculation, it's mathematical reality that can be verified by anyone with the proper instruments and the courage to follow the calculations wherever they lead. The ancient builders weren't just encoding knowledge about the past, they were creating a temporal map that would guide future generations toward moments of crucial significance. We're living through one of those moments right now. The resistance you might feel to accepting these implications is itself part of the pattern described in ancient texts. They speak of a time when truth would be revealed, but many would refuse to see it. When evidence would accumulate, but institutions would resist acknowledging it. When the greatest discoveries in human history would be dismissed by those most invested in maintaining existing power structures. This resistance isn't accidental or incidental. It's a necessary part of the selection process that determines which members of our species are ready to participate in the next phase of human development. The ancient beings who influenced our past weren't interested in forcing evolution on unwilling subjects. They established systems that would naturally separate those ready for advancement from those who prefer comfortable limitations. The evidence we've examined functions as a kind of consciousness test. Those capable of recognizing patterns that transcend conventional thinking, those willing to follow data regardless of social pressure, those able to synthesize information from multiple sources into coherent understanding. These individuals demonstrate the cognitive flexibility necessary for contact with intelligence that operates beyond current human norms. But cognitive ability alone isn't sufficient. The ancient accounts make clear that wisdom, compassion, and ethical development are equally important criteria. Advanced technology in the hands of immature consciousness leads to destruction rather than advancement. The archaeological record shows civilizations that achieved remarkable capabilities only to collapse when they failed to develop the wisdom necessary to manage such power responsibly. This is why the disclosure process has been so carefully managed and why it continues to accelerate at precisely the moment when global challenges require solutions that transcend current technological and social limitations. Climate disruption, resource depletion, social fragmentation, technological disruption, all of these crises are pushing humanity toward the recognition that our current approaches are insufficient for long-term survival. The solutions exist within the knowledge systems that ancient civilizations developed through contact with advanced intelligence, energy technologies that work with natural forces rather than against them, social structures that integrate individual development with collective benefit, consciousness technologies that expand human capability without requiring external devices, agricultural methods that enhance rather than degrade natural systems. This knowledge wasn't lost accidentally. It was preserved deliberately within monuments, texts, and even genetic structures that would become accessible when humanity reached sufficient maturity to use such information responsibly. The timing mechanisms built into these preservation systems are now activating, releasing information at precisely the moment when we need it most and are most capable of understanding its implications. But understanding alone isn't enough. The ancient patterns make clear that knowledge without action leads to stagnation, while action without wisdom leads to destruction. The optimal path requires both recognition of what's possible and commitment to achieving it through methods that honor the highest principles of consciousness development. This means taking responsibility not just for what we know, but for how we use that knowledge. Every person who recognizes the truth about ancient contact becomes a carrier of that information and a participant in determining how it influences human development. The choice isn't between believing or disbelieving. It's between using this knowledge constructively or allowing it to remain dormant while global challenges intensify. The evidence suggests that this choice window is limited. The same patterns that brought ancient civilizations to moments of breakthrough or breakdown are operating in our current situation. The technological capabilities we're developing, the environmental pressures we're facing, the social transformations we're experiencing, all of these factors are converging toward decision points that will determine our trajectory for centuries to come. The ancient beings who influenced our past may have established these patterns specifically to create such decision points. Moments when humanity as a whole must choose between evolution and extinction, between advancement and collapse, between joining a larger cosmic community and remaining isolated in primitive limitations. The craft appearing in our skies with increasing frequency may represent monitoring systems checking our progress toward these decision points. The advanced intelligence behind these phenomena may be waiting to see whether we'll demonstrate the wisdom necessary for more direct contact, or whether we'll repeat the mistakes that led to previous collapses. The declassification of military documents about unexplained aerial phenomena represents just the beginning of a disclosure process that will eventually reveal the full extent of ongoing contact. But the pace and depth of this revelation will depend largely on how humanity responds to initial information. Panic, aggression, or attempts to weaponize contact will likely result in withdrawal and delay. Wisdom, openness, and commitment to peaceful development may accelerate the process. The role you play in this unfolding depends entirely on choices you make right now. Every person who takes this evidence seriously, who shares it responsibly, who commits to using it for the benefit of all consciousness, becomes part of the solution rather than part of the problem. The collective response to these revelations will determine the collective outcome for our species. This isn't about passive belief in exotic theories. It's about active participation in the most important transformation in human history. The ancient beings who shaped our past didn't just give us knowledge, they gave us responsibility. They encoded within our very DNA the potential to become more than we currently imagine possible. But potential without activation remains dormant, and activation requires conscious choice. The evidence is clear, the patterns are undeniable, the timing is perfect. The only remaining variable is your response to this recognition. Will you dismiss it as entertaining speculation and return to comfortable assumptions about human limitation? Or will you embrace the extraordinary truth that we are inheritors of cosmic intelligence, with capabilities that extend far beyond current understanding? The choice seems obvious when stated so directly, but the implications are profound enough to give anyone pause. Accepting this truth means accepting responsibility for using it wisely. It means recognizing that you're part of something far greater than individual existence. It means understanding that your choices about how to live, how to think, how to treat others, and how to interact with the world around you have consequences that extend beyond anything you've previously imagined. But this responsibility comes with extraordinary opportunity. The same evidence that reveals the truth about ancient contact also reveals the unlimited potential that lies dormant within human consciousness. The capabilities demonstrated by our ancestors through contact with advanced beings remain accessible to those willing to do the work necessary to activate them. The monuments, the artifacts, the encoded knowledge, the genetic markers, all of these elements were preserved not as museum pieces, but as activation devices waiting for the right moment and the right level of consciousness to unlock their secrets. That moment has arrived. The question is whether you're ready to step into the reality that this recognition makes possible. The journey from comfortable limitation to unlimited potential isn't easy, but it's the natural direction of conscious evolution. Every species that survives long enough eventually faces this transition. The evidence suggests that many civilizations have successfully navigated this transformation while others have failed. The difference lies not in intelligence or technology, but in wisdom and commitment to principles that transcend individual survival. The ancient alien theories that science couldn't explain have become ancient alien realities that we can no longer deny. But more than that, they've become the foundation for understanding what humanity is becoming and what we're capable of achieving when we embrace our true heritage. The transformation is already underway. The only question is whether you'll be part of the awakening or continue sleeping through the most important moment in human history. The evidence speaks for itself. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because the cosmos is watching and the time for hesitation is ending. What will your choice be?